Alrighty, so today's going to be another reloading type video. You guys probably watched kind of part one or the brass prep here. In that video we prepped all of this brass here. So this is my 6.5 Creedmoor brass that we fire formed as 6 Creedmoor. And it's been sized, shoulder bumped, 1,500, deburred and chamfered. It didn't need trimmed and it's been cleaned. So we're now ready for kind of firing number 2 there. So what we're going to do is go ahead and load up some rounds today with the Berger 108 Bowtail target. They look like they were going to shoot pretty good. CCI 450s and h4350. So obviously h4350 is one of the pretty common powders used in load development with 6 Creedmoor. So first step here is I've planned to do 3-shot groups today. 3 rounds at 39.5. 3 rounds at 40, 40.5, 41, and 41.5. That gets us probably pretty close to a max load, and it should get us well over 3,000 feet per second, which is about as fast as I want to run these. So first step here is get our primers loaded up into our, this is a Lee hand primer. It's the primer that I've been using with a lot of success, so it's a pretty cheap primer. Priming tool, and we'll just drop some of our 450s in there, close our lid, and we need 15 rounds. So I usually seat the primers, try to use consistent pressure across both of them. You feel maybe just a little bit of crush when you get the primer seated all the way. We flipped one there. It does happen occasionally with this tool. It's not a big deal for me, but it does happen where occasionally a primer will get flipped. Just watch before you prime. So I usually set them up pretty much like this, where if I'm going to load 3 in each charge, I put them in my loading block pretty much just like this. This is an EP Integrations loading block. They actually sent it to me for free, but man, it's been nice. I think it's a pretty expensive loading block. I think it runs a little bit over $100, but it's universal, and no more messing with those cheap plastic ones, and it really works pretty good for all the different cartridges that I've used it for. I've used it all the way from 22 all the way up to 300 Norma Magnum. I believe it goes all the way up to 50 BMG, but obviously I don't have a 50 BMG. And let's see, that's 15 of them there, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. All right, perfect. So we got all of our cases primed now, and now we're going to reset the camera and we're going to go ahead and load some powder. Alrighty, so generally when I load small batches like this, right, we're doing 3 at each charge. This is my Lyman Gen 6, and it's one of those automatic dispensers, but I oftentimes don't use that feature of it. I'll usually just go ahead and weigh powder out using a scoop, and you can usually get pretty good at it. So what are we going for? 39.5 with our first load, aren't we? So we way overshot it there. And again, for small batches like this, it's really not too big a deal. So 39.5, go ahead and pour that into the case there. Give it a little tap, and then we're going to do the next one here. Now, I won't bore you with all these. Essentially, this is the same exact method that I'm going to use for all of them. Again, you usually can get pretty good at it. So 39.5. We'll just do 3 of them here on camera, and then obviously then we'll be ready to bullet seat. We might talk about whether these are going to be compressed loads or not too, because I guess I'm not really sure. Probably not. Alright, so I'll come back after I have them all loaded up here. Alright, so we're ready to go ahead and seat some bullets here, and first thing I always do is double check, take a look at all the cases, that we're loading and make sure that they all have powder in them and they're all pretty even. That makes sure that you didn't miss a step, didn't screw something up and end up with a case with no powder in it, because that's obviously bad. Now, don't remember what this bullet or what my die is set up with. This is just a Hornady. It's actually a 6GT seating die with a micrometer on the top. I mentioned in one of my previous videos that for 6.5x47 Lapua, I was using a Hornady 6.5 PRC die to seat bullets, and someone freaked out and said that was a horrible idea. We shot some of the best groups that I've ever shot with that 6.5x47 Lapua using that 6.5 seater die. So I've been of the mindset that as long as the die is the right size, it's got the right seating stem that fits the bullet, that it really doesn't matter what cartridge it's made for. Now, this isn't a recommendation, this is just generally what I've done. It makes it easy for me because then I can just leave my 6mm die that will essentially work with my 6mm cartridges in my press. I can use my 6.5mm. Again, your results may vary, but it's been just fine for me, and I see no reason to pull this die out and put a 6.5mm die in there. Or sorry, a 6mm Creedmoor die. This 6GT die has worked just fine. Okay, so I actually think I just got extremely lucky there. I backed my die out just to kind of a random number, just to try to start far off, so we didn't seat them too deep, and we were within 0.004 of where we wanted to be. So just absolute pure luck there. Let's seat another one here. Now our tips are going to vary just a little bit, so that number could be a little bit different. We really should measure this off the ogive of the bullet to get a really good accurate number. Yeah, and so that one's 761. So I'm actually going to leave the die set up just the way it is. Again, super lucky because that was just a random twist of the die. So for my notes, I will go back and measure a few of these to get our base to ogive number, so we'll have something to compare it to, so we'll know what to use in the future if we're trying to replicate this load. But bullet seating was really easy today. Obviously, whenever you get lucky and your seating die gets set up automatically, it's pretty easy. Now, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but our starting charge is not a compressed load. It's probably 80 to 90% full, so I'll come back after we seat the top load and we'll talk about whether it's a compressed load. Alright, so I've got all of these loaded up now, and lowest charge to top charge, and don't know if you can hear, but we still have a non-compressed load. There's definitely still some case capacity moving around in there. So potentially, depending on how charge weight and pressure look, we potentially could go up. We are pretty close to the top of load data, but as far as case capacity goes, we're pretty well fine. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Pretty simple process of loading 6 Creedmoor after the brass is prepped. So make sure you watch the brass prep video. That one was a little bit more involved. So hopefully these shoot well, and we'll see you out on the range. Alrighty, we're out here on the range. The target is at 100 yards. This is my Seekins Havoc kit, chambered in 6mm Creedmoor. Orange dots are 1/2 inch. This is a 24-inch 1/8 twist. There is a little bit more breeze today than what I usually shoot in. It's a little later in the day. We're looking into the sun a little bit, so the lighting on the gun may not be as good as what it usually is, but I wanted to shoot this today. This has the 5-25 Discovery optic on it that I kind of did a little bit of an unboxing video on, what was it, like last week or earlier this week, and we're shooting 3-shot groups. I loaded that ammo, which you can see that earlier in this video. The gun is cool, however it just has about 5 shots on it since it was clean, so the barrel is pretty darn clean, just pretty much fouled up. I fouled it kind of getting this scope sighted in. So we're hoping for some pretty good groups here today. This 39.5 grain load we shot before and it shot really good, so it's kind of our baseline almost. Expect it to be pretty good, and we'll kind of see how things go from there. So first shot here. This is the first 5-shot or 3-shot group out of this optic, so hopefully we could shoot some small groups with the optic. Should be pretty close to sighted in. We may be just a little off one way or the other, but it should be pretty close. So first shot here. So as stated, we should be pretty close on our point of impact, which we were. Alright, not a bad start. Taking me a little bit of getting used to it. I'm used to shooting on 35 power. This is obviously 25, so the dot on the target obviously looks smaller. Now those 3 shots, we had 29-13. Our SD was 11.9, but that was our first shot. Our cold bore shot was 29-27. Then we had 29-09 and 29-07. So probably SD's a little better than what it looks if we throw out that cold bore. I never do though. I love a good cold bore group. See if I can shoot a real nice group with the cold bore. So moving on up with our charge weight. I strung them just a little bit vertically. Not bad. Again, we probably have at least 10 to 15 mile an hour crosswind here. Alright, so those 3, yeah, things tightened up. We had 29-35 feet per second for an average velocity and 6.8 SD, 13 ES. Now, obviously 3-shot groups, not the biggest indicator of consistency, but good place to start. Now the question is that last one a little bit of the wind? There was what looked like a little bit of a pickup in the wind there, but I went ahead and shot it. Not horrible though. Alright, those 3 SDs picked up a little bit. We had 2980 with a 15 SD. Let's see if something weird happened on... Oh yeah, shot 3. We had a little bit of a weird velocity. So shot 1, 2895, shot 2, 2993, and then shot 3, 2962. So probably not the wind, probably something with that weird velocity there. Give this wind a break here. It's starting to pick up. You guys can probably hear it in the camera. I apologize for that. Alright, next load here. (3,000 feet per second). What everybody wants out of the 6 Creedmoor. That's what everybody wants to see. I shot those early videos with like 2,800 feet per second and everybody was telling me I should be up at 3,000 feet per second. Alright, let's take a close look at the brass there on that one. Just a slight, there's a couple little smears where you can tell we're smearing our brass a little bit. Our bolt lift was fine, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to shoot the top load anyway, which was real close to Hornady's max for the 108, 105 class bullets. So let's go up here and let's see what we are at for velocity. 3,012 average with an SD of 7.24. So they had max charges listed at 3050. So we should be pretty well there with our top load here. Okay, top load. We'll see how they group. .30-70. Put them all in the same hole, can we? Velocity was kind of all over the place on that last group there. Typically I don't like to run that hot, right? We're pretty much right at what Hornady's predicting to be a max load with that weight projectile. The brass actually doesn't look too bad. There's a little bit of cratering on our primer and maybe a little bit of a shiny spot. But we went back up, we had a 15 SD there, 30-54 average. So you know, not amazing, but didn't look too bad. There were a couple of groups in there that are definitely probably half minute of angle. I would tend to err on that low side, right? That first group looks like, to me, the best group. So that's why I always shoot lower charge weights. Seems like they usually group better. You're going to get more barrel life, less barrel heat. But we also were fighting a little bit of wind, which was probably increasing our group size. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you next time.